Hello everybody, in this video I'm talking about, well, the ultimate, well, base you can actually build in Minecraft Legends, well, to have very good defense. Now the thing is like that, basically game is very dynamic, and basically the way that you build, it really depends on enemy strategies, on your position, typography, and other factors. But as of right now, there are two main strategies that enemies usually try to attack the base, either destroying the core directly and just ignoring all your defenses, most of it at least, by attacking the base itself. The other thing is brute forcing using golems. Now if you know ahead that this is a two strategies, you need to be prepared for it. Of course you can do other strategies like attacking, instead of building more defense and be aggressive, but here I'm just focusing on the defensive structures and the way you should structure your base in order to get the best defense. And nothing is perfect here, I'm just trying to build stairs just to show you something. Ignore those little things, and they holding the wall again. This is just for demonstration so I can get in fast. Of course I can build a gate there, but I'm going to talk about the disadvantages of that as well. Now the reason you want gates, of course, is for easier exit and of course your minions, your mobs. But basically, again, if you put, for example, spawners outside, you can easily call them and spawn them back outside if you need it. The problem with the gates, again, this is usually targeted because if you build a second wall around it, you basically block others from actually exiting. So if players can actually see it and will attack that wall because they're not actually maybe extra layers of wall behind it. That's why you're probably going to see lots of players just attacking the gate and ignoring everything else. This is why I also put traps on the ground, by the way, that actually can freeze. They're very good, by the way, if minions are attacking the other side of the wall. It's actually freeze them because of the radius. You see it as kind of an extra, the radius that can actually affect the outer area of the wall. But you also put them inside, and the reason for that, if you get inside, especially near the gate, they're gonna get frozen. And by the way, if all of you have beetles, you can easily segment inside to confine the players so won't be able to maneuver a lot with the minions. I mean, they can jump over walls, but the minions don't. If you don't, just do it in the inner part, not everything, not in the outer part. With the brilliant beetle, you can just jump over everything. You don't even need to enter through a gate. It just jumps over everything. That's why it's the best for PvP. So for the inner part, which as you can see, I build lots of walls there. Basically, don't just build one wall. Players will see it, of course, and will try to find a way to easily get inside the base. So basically, I can just build 2, even 3, even more if I can, to just prevent enemies from actually brute forcing in. But I needed space in order to protect the base, and what you see I put there, those protect the tower. This is also put it close because they don't want enemies to really come very close and close to the outer walls and being able to destroy it. So I put it pretty close, and of course because of the radius, I can actually create a more tight protection where the radius, if I put 2 or 3, cover most of the area that I want to cover. Now the thing is that with matches and players being team being aggressive, you won't be able to cover everything. Well, this is going to take a long time. So what I do, I actually put it in a position where I think it's more sensitive to attacks, like when there is actually area where I can actually monitor behind me with the mountain. When I'm actually building, players can actually go there. So I know it's sensitive to attack, that's why I put it there. I also put carpet and hard to repair those areas close, and also the masonry in order to build those walls to be stone instead of wood, and other nearby walls. Now I spread them apart because, again, if I'm getting bombed, I don't want all these structures to actually be destroyed easily, and if there's kind of a range difference, at least some of my structures are protected. But usually I put them in an area where it's less likely to get attacked if the opponent uses brute force. And regarding building, by the way, if you want to build inside and there's no entrance, you can always build from far. You don't need to be inside in order to build. And you see, the reason I put more traps, again, the thing is that an army can be targeted. They can just ignore walls and just go and search for an area that is most likely to have the less defenses. That's why I put those traps, so if they move on the ground, they can actually ignore it easily, because it's have a big radius. Again, the trap can freeze for quite a long time. It can easily be demolished, but again, it's really good when enemies attacking from behind the wall, so they can actually destroy it directly. Keep in mind, this is a PvP mech, but again, this is tutorial section where I kind of have more time demonstrating things, but it is the same strategy in PvP. And when you're hearing enemies already harvesting, being able to harvest redstone, always be prepared, especially when you hear that the enemy unlocked the ability to have redstone launcher. And when you put the protector towers, always try to guard the other side. It's actually good when you put there, you can actually focus on areas that are most likely now to get targeted, because enemies will probably kind of scout on you and you see those and will probably try to attack from different location. The reason I put it there again because of the mountains. From the front, again, it depends on the topography. From the front, I actually can see far, so it's not a problem. The problem was from the mountain. That's why I put most of them in that location to cover that angle. Now always keep in mind, I'm not talking here about outside defenses, but you can always put towers, even big towers or the arrow towers far outside, because it disrupts enemies from actually building structures. You can be, I'm talking about far, just spreading them really far from the base. And when actually you hear that somebody is attacking those structures, it's kind of an alarm. And if it's a big tower, you're gonna hear it. It sounds really, it's really loud. So you know this is kind of an alarm telling you that enemies are actually nearby and actually trying to attack those towers. And you know where you look, you put them, and you try to search for where enemies are actually trying to build a little base. Now, as you can see, I also put spawners, and quite a lot of them in key locations. So if they're going from, for example, from the front, I can do it. If I'm going from the right, I can do it. Basically in key locations on the, so I can quickly spawn them. It doesn't matter where enemies are actually trying to breach. I'm using mostly golem to heal, because your enemies will try to actually get rid of your minions, so they can heal them. And having zombie or the range ones can be very strong as well, to just again try to clear enemies minions as fast as possible. You can always recall if you want to recall all of them in. As you can see, I'm building big walls. It's not just one wall, because again, when you think about an opponent trying to get in, you see one wall, said, all right, it's easy, let's just breach for one wall. Second wall, we are in, that's it, let's destroy the base. But if you are having layers of wall, it will take much more time to breach in. I also did ability where you can build the kaboomery, which turns your power shot into explosive one, which is also very useful. But again, the most important thing is actually protecting the core. That's why I'm really put lots of walls inside in order to prevent. Again, it's not complete, and I'll leave some holes just again for demonstration, but of course I'm going to build just a bit differently in the real game, but just showcasing how, you know, it's supposed to be really thick inside, so enemies will kind of, you know, it will take them much more time and to get actually in if they breach through the outer walls. Now the reason I did it, of course, is small area around it, because I wanted to make sure that the structure that I put can actually affect the entire area. And if I put just triple or double around the base, enemies can get in, and it will take me more resources and more structure to actually cover the entire area. So that's why the inner part is very, very strong, and the other one, if I have more time and the game is longer and I have more time to build, sure, but usually we didn't get into those situations. So make sure the core around the base is actually well structured to defend it. Also put lots of arrow towers, and of course we can buff them up. The reason for that you want to also make sure that enemies that get in will die fast, because if they die, they can't command their army anymore. So if you put lots of them, especially inside, not just outside, I mean both basically, you can eliminate the players fast, and they won't be able to command the army, and then you are in control. But again, you don't see any kind of big towers here. Again, this is just the core start. Usually you don't get to the point, but if you do get to the point, of course, you can use, for example, force tower that can actually freeze an enemy in a big AoE. And of course, it can be more complex. Just try to focus on core things to help you protect, but if you have more time, you can continue in building more supportive structures. If the game prolongs and gets longer, you can do that. For example, stun towers can be very good for stunning enemy in a really big radius. So even if they're coming from front or behind, the stun tower can actually protect it. So this is also good, and you can just stun enemies. But it has a long, relatively charge, and usually you can get these situations where, you know, a combination of things is required basically to, you know, different layers of protection in order to make sure the enemy don't breach. Again, this is because the tutorial map, the enemy got in, but I'm just watching this, you know, just seeing how much damage it actually deals. But the thing is that you can see if somebody gets in, I can already go and start spawning my minions in order to fight against it. I try to spawn, by the way, healers, but I don't have the necessary resources. Again, this is just demoing, so I didn't have the resource in order to build it. It's funny, but they can actually spawn more range one, and they can attack and did lots of damage. Again, because it's there, I can focus on that. As you can see, I'm just spawning them quickly. And again, if this is down, I have another one on the side, so I can deal lots of damage. Again, I'm kind of have more, it buys me more time to do things because the inner walls are much more protected. Forget about the holder, as I told you, just for demonstration. I would have blocked it otherwise. The other thing, by the way, regarding your upgrades, enemies will also try to hit your upgrades. If they hit your upgrades and destroy the structure, this is a huge, it's very, very hard to come back from that. So you also need to make sure that it's a, this is, by the way, not the ideal ones. The ideal is probably on the left side, but it needs to be protected. So that's why I stoned it, and you can build extra protection around those upgrade structures because you don't want them to be taken down. All right, so this is very important. I also put there another tower, protector tower, to protect them against projectiles as well. So to protect both those and the base as well at the same time. And this is it. Of course, you might not get to a situation when you get that type of base and even more. But the thing is, in 4 versus 4, you usually get longer matches, and you can easily get to a situation where those type of builds, especially with players already know how to play, how to counter things, you get to a situation where bases are more required more and very careful planning in order to prevent enemies from getting inside. And I hope you find this one useful. If so, give a like and subscribe. More guides, of course, will come as I play more, gather more experience. I'm going to share with you. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you at the next one. Cheers.